my beautiful people, welcome back to my channel. Today's video I'm very excited to do because we're going to be talking about summer eyeshadow palettes. Summer season is here and I went through my entire eyeshadow palette collection to select some of the palettes that I would naturally gravitate towards when the weather is beautiful and sunny and warm. So today I have about 15 palettes to share with you today. Some are colorful, some are a little bit more toned down and neutral. Some palettes are newer, some of them are older favorites. However, they still deserve a spotlight. Before we get started, I would love to welcome new visitors and viewers to my channel. Hi, my name is Eve. I love all things beauty here on my channel. I share about makeup, skincare, hair care, and at times lifestyle things like travel, fashion, and lifestyle vlogs. If that sounds interesting to you, I hope you stick around, enjoy this video, and subscribe to my channel. And now without further ado, let's dive in. Eyeshadow palettes and I really enjoy my eyeshadow palette collection. So the makeup look that I am wearing is one of the eyeshadows that I'm going to be talking about today. Also, I have created a reel for my Instagram, so it will be there for you, or maybe also in my TikTok account. So not in any particular order. Let's begin. I wanted to start with a palette that's an oldie but a goodie. This is a palette NOMAD Cosmetics, Lost in Los Angeles. If this doesn't scream summer, I don't know what does. This is just such a beautiful, happy, fun summer palette for me. Quality of this entire eyeshadow palette is solid. Mattes, shimmers. Shimmers are beautiful, reflective, gives you a really nice pigment, and the mattes are really easy to work with. They're also buildable. I really love this matte white. I use it often. A lot of these palettes that I'm going to be talking about today, I do have reels on my Instagram. And if I have a dedicated video for any of these palettes, I will link it for you underneath in the description box, just in case if you wanted to cross-watch something. I've created some fun looks just using this palette, but I also think this is a really, really nice palette to have as a companion. So this next palette is somewhat similar in the color scheme to the ones that I just spoke about. Whenever I saw this palette, I just needed to have it. This is Garden by Juvia. Again, beautiful pastel spring summer color story, beautiful mattes and beautiful shimmers. I really enjoy how this palette is organized. It's a little bit more straightforward. I've already spoken about this palette multiple times here on my channel lately. I've reached for this so many times for shimmers because these shimmers are just spectacular. Reflective, they give you that wet effect on the lid. They look beautiful in a corner, all over the lid. Somewhat they do perform like toppers. They do have a little bit sheeriness to them, but they also build up. But because they work as toppers and you can sheer them out, they layer very well on top of any other shade that you wanted to layer them with, and they would still give you that color pickup, whatever you see in a pan. You can do a lot of great things with this palette. So this is definitely a palette that I very much love and enjoy. The quality is so great, especially the shimmers, and I keep it really nice and close to me. This next makeup palette is considerably a new launch, and I use this palette to create the makeup that I'm wearing today. And like I said, this is going to be in my Instagram reels. This is Natasha Genona Yucca palette. This color story is just so yummy. I think I want to rename this palette from Yucca to Yummy. I have a dedicated video with this palette where I created multiple looks, and then I've already used this on camera in a few other my videos. I get so much inspiration from this palette. A little bit grungy, it's a little bit colorful, it's a little bit muted, at the same time it's neutral. I absolutely love this color story. I love how much versatility this palette gives me, even though at first when you look, you're like, it's kind of green. Yeah, it is kind of there, but it just still gives you so much versatility. You can definitely use this palette year round. I can see that. There's summer, there's spring, there's fall, and I can see some good winter looks here. So it's a great addition to the eyeshadow palette collection that you might already have. The quality is just exceptional. Some of these shimmers, the four sparkling foils that Natasha Genona used in this palette are just gorgeous. As much as I love all these beautiful, gorgeous, sparkling foily shimmers, this shade right here, this neon pastel shade, is absolute perfection. This is my favorite shade in the entire palette. You can use this shade in any way you want, in your inner corner, all over your lid, blend it out in your crease. It has beautiful opacity. I love this palette so much. Wow. So this next palette is a newer launch as well, and I do have a dedicated video with multiple look tutorials on this palette. This is Okavango Safari palette from NOMAD Cosmetics. This was actually my first interaction with a NOMAD eyeshadow formula. There are more mattes in this palette, so the palette organized by row, so you get get 3 rows of mattes and then 2 rows of shimmers. The mattes in this palette are so beautiful. The formula is just so easy to work with. It blends, it packs, the shades just blend into each other so perfectly. All these undertones were just so thoughtfully made. If you love a really good matte look, you're gonna love this palette. If you love neutrals, but you love a little bit of color also, maybe a little bit of grunginess and a little bit of like a safari vibe, some maybe like a bronzy goddess for summer seasons, this palette gets you covered. And another thing that I really love about it is that there's versatility. There are warm tones that would get you through warmer seasons. This row right here can take you through your winter, through your holiday looks. To my opinion, it's a really nice versatile palette that you can use throughout the entire year. Right, so this next palette I've already spoken about on my channel. However, it just deserves to be here because this palette is very unique to my collection because it has a very specific undertone of warm neutrals. This is the Nubian Earth from Juvia's Place. I do have a reel on this palette where I create a beautiful look. This is not the eyeshadow formula that we used to know back in several years ago from Juvia's Place. The mattes are not super pigmented and not as heavy, and the shimmers are super sparkly, but again not as heavy, and the mattes are a little bit more on the thinner side. However, they still pack a punch. And then these shimmers, I love me a good bronzy goddess moment for summer, and this will get you there. And then this shade right here, girl, it looks like a pressed glitter, but it is not. I have to show you a swatch. Look at this. However, what's very unique about this palette in my collection is that all these warm neutrals give you almost like a yellow olivey undertone. So this next palette is also considerably new launch. I think it's been about maybe a few months for this palette on the market. Very great summer launch for the brand. This is a palette that would fit my neutral babes out there. However, if you love a little bit of a good sparkle, if you love a variety of warm and cool undertones, like that nice balance in the palette, and you would also maybe like a little bit of fun color that would work so well for summer season, you will love this palette. Midsummer eyeshadow palette from Alter Ego. This is their summer launch. This eyeshadow palette resembles the Nouveau eyeshadow palette from ABH, which is an exceptional quality. This is a very nice compact palette. However, you still get a really nice mirror here. You get some cool tones here. You get a little bit of warmness. And here's your pop of color. This lilac color is just so beautiful, so fresh. I do have a dedicated video with ABH palette if you wanted to have some inspirational looks, but this palette is very affordable. The quality is very, very nice and easy to work with. So next, I would like to mention actually 2 palettes, but they were launched together. I almost consider them like companion palettes to each other and also like sister palettes. I've talked about them. They were launched last year. I don't think these palettes or the launch got attention at all. I very much love them because the quality is superb. 2 palettes from Catrice. We have Rainforest Haze and Sandy Days. They are a little bit more curated to the store. One downside to these palettes, and that's why I kind of consider them your companion palettes, because there are only 3 mattes in each palette and they're really not that much versatility within those 3 mattes. However, the shimmers are jaw-dropping. I was mind blown not only by how creamy, how impactful these shimmers are. They are not glittery shimmers. They are beautiful, smooth, but very reflective and catch on the light so beautifully. So these 2 are spectacular palettes, and it wouldn't be a eyeshadow palette stash video, especially for summer, if I would not mention my favorite palette. Here it is, Analog by Nabla. I love it. I've spoken about this palette so many times. If I would only get to keep one warm neutral palette, it would be this one. I love my neutrals. Like I said, I love my warm neutrals, but whenever I use this palette, it just makes me feel a certain way. These shimmers had a wet effect to them. Absolutely hands down favorite formulation, and you get 2 of these here, and this is a beautiful duochrome gold to coral. Stunning, stunning. The mattes here are beautiful. Nabla also has that cream to powder matte formulations. They're just so beautiful and easy to work with. Stunning palette. You could not rip this out of my hands. This next palette joined my collection last summer and I like it. This is In the Springs eyeshadow palette from ColourPop. ColourPop formula can be a little bit inconsistent here and there, but this palette was made solidly. I also love that this shade is a Super Shock. Excellent quality and super fun color story. And if you're like, okay, all these palettes are great, but I only have $5 to spend, girl, I got you covered. Look into these quads from Hard Candy. They launch a range of different colors. There's a teal, I think there's a purple, a green. So if you wanted just to spend few bucks and get a little bit of something fun for summer, as something different, just a little small tiny thing to add to your collection, this is not gonna break the bank. These are very nice formulas to work with. I was very surprised that for just few dollars, you actually get very decent quality to work with that also looks good on eyes. These shimmers are beautiful. They are nicely pigmented. You can apply them with brush or finger. I do have, I think, a reel on this on my Instagram if you wanted to see what it looks like. But yeah, check these out. So this next palette I like quite a bit. This is a bronze rustic palette from Juvia's Place. This palette is primarily neutral. You get primarily neutral shades here. However, these two shimmers, they are different undertone. One is a little bit more on the rosy side, and this one is your beautiful bronze. And then you get these two shades that definitely pack a punch. I really love that these shades have a beautiful rosy undertone. This is a really nice Juvia's Place formula. Again, it's not heavy on eyes, but it blends, it packs, it doesn't fade. These colors are just very nice, bright and punchy. What you see here is what you get on your eye. This palette is so much fun. So these next two palettes I wanted to talk about together because they kind of resemble each other quite a bit. They're not the same. They're not the same, but they resemble each other very, very much because they are both warm neutrals and they're both 5-pan eyeshadow palettes. They're tiny, but they're mighty. And they're also different price ranges. So one is if you wanted to splurge a little bit, and another one if you just still want to be on a budget, but kind of get the similar look. Mini Nude palette and Warm Spice from Catrice 5 in a box. The color stories are very, very, very similar to each other. Both of these palettes have really beautiful shimmers and beautiful mattes. They're not the same quality, of course. They are very, very good quality on their own. If you haven't tried these 5 in a box palettes, they are such a good quality. I've traveled with this palette so many times, as well as with Mini Nude from Natasha Genona. I'm currently talking about the warm season, and that's where the warm neutrals really come through to the surface. For me, these are just the palettes that I personally use year round. I love my warm neutrals, like I said a million times in this video already. And yeah, these are just my very easy go-to palettes, both very good formulas. Last but not least is a honorable mention, and I may have mentioned this palette in my other seasonal videos because this is just a great companion palette and exceptional quality. This is Desert Lights from Flower Beauty. This is the palette that full of shimmers, but they are beautiful, creamy, very reflective, buttery. This is a perfect palette if you just like all shimmer on your eyelids, just a beautiful, impactful shimmer, or you want to add it into your existing matte eyeshadow palettes and just wanted to elevate your look. This is incredible. Okay guys, these are all the eyeshadow palettes that I wanted to talk about today. Let me know if you have any of these already in your stash. If you have another favorite palette or palettes that you're excited to use this summer season. If you enjoyed this video and if you'd like to see more videos and me chatting about eyeshadow palettes, I will leave all the playlists at the end of this video in the cards for you to enjoy. If you enjoyed this video, give this a big thumb up. If you're not yet a subscriber, I invite you to do so. Thanks so much for watching and hanging out with me today, and I will see you in my next videos.